There's a lot of exciting stuff going on in real estate. There's a lot of things to be hopeful for that make me believe that housing prices may be going up. And we're going to go over what those are and how that's going to affect you if you're a homeowner in the Denver area.
Why should I be hopeful my house value going to go up in price, Eric?
So on the first of every month, the data is released from the following month. So we just got the August data, and we're going to go over all the data points for the month of August as it relates to real estate in the Denver area. And then we're also going to talk about some major developments that are happening on more of a macro scale that are going to affect housing prices in the US as a whole. So let's start by looking at the Denver numbers. Last month, there was a huge drop from a median sales price of $768 down to $682. That was about a 10% drop in the Denver area, which is a pretty major deal. And I expected that trend to continue, and I was wrong. It did not. We gained back a lot of that. We went from 682 back up to 739. If we look at the houses that are selling, there's a lot more higher priced houses that are bigger that are selling than lower priced houses, because people that can barely afford a house are priced out of the market. And so just the days on market for a smaller house has gone up a lot. It's really hard to move a smaller house. Smaller houses have gone down in value. If we go 329 or less for houses in Denver that are sold for 325 or less, the average price is down 5.5%. Right. So now I want to show you the more important number. Price per square foot went down from $278 to $264. It is down 6.7% year over year in Denver. I think this is the more important number. This shows you that while the average house might be selling for a little more, so closed price on the average house went up, but the price per square foot went down. And that's just showing you that the houses that are selling are nicer houses that happen to be, while the average house sells for a higher value, that average house is a bigger house. So houses can be going down in value while the average sold house price goes up, if you can wrap your head around that, right? If one month you have a bunch of cheap houses selling and the average is a number down here, and then the next month you have a bunch of really expensive houses selling and the average is up here, just because the average is higher doesn't mean the value of the prices went up. The pot of houses that were selling happened to be more expensive ones, right? So that's what we're experiencing here in the Denver area. Let's look at days in the MLS. So we're up 44% at 36 days. It actually dropped significantly. So it used to be 50 days on market just back in July. The August numbers are out. It's 30 days on market, 36 days. That's a huge correction in the right direction. But even with that correction, we're still up 44% over where we were a year ago. So it was looking like it was going to get a lot worse. But a lot of people took their house off the market. So the days on market dropped, right? And I can prove this by looking at the closed listings, right? So even though we went from an average days on market of 50 down to 36 during that same month, if we look a little closer, we went from closed listings at 147 down to 123. So a lot less houses, houses are not selling. Less houses are selling, yet days in the market went down, right? And why is that, right? Well, it's because active listings went down, right? And that's not because they closed. Active listings went from 702 down to 677. 44% more active listings than a year ago. That's alarming. We'll come back to that. But so we have the amount of active listings went down, but the number of closed listings also went down, and days on MLS went down, right? So the only way that could be happening is a lot of people are pulling their houses off the market. They're giving up. Pending listings went up, not a lot, but a little, from 109 to 125. So we have more houses pending to sell. Month supply up 43.5%. That is a lot, right? Supply up 43.5% than it was a year ago, and demand, being the amount of houses selling, down 12%. That should kind of tell you the story. Supply is going way up. Demand is going way down. The only thing that's saving us from a major correction is that most people don't have to sell because the jobs market is holding so far. sellers have opted to just take the house off the market and keep it. And that's what's keeping us from a more major correction. All right, so let's talk quick about what's happening on more of a national level that will affect housing prices. So one of two things is about to unfold. We're either going to see house prices come down or we're going to see mortgage interest rates come down. One of those two things has to happen. We can't sustain house prices where they're at without mortgage rates coming down. It's just not affordable for most Americans to buy at these prices with these rates. So President Trump would like to see mortgage rates come down. That's the way he's expressed that he wants to see this unfold. And the way that's going to happen, the only way that's going to happen, is if the Federal Reserve prints money and buys mortgage-backed securities to bring the long end of the curve down. That's how they can bring the 10-year Treasury interest rates down and mortgage interest rates. If they simply drop the Fed funds rate, which they're probably going to do here in the next meeting in mid-September, that's not going to make mortgage prices come down. They're going to need to print money, buy mortgage-backed securities. That's going to bring mortgage interest rates down. Simply lowering the Fed funds rate isn't going to do that. So my prediction for what's going to happen here in the near future is we're going to see the Fed start QE and start to buy mortgage-backed securities to bring interest rates down, because that's what Donald Trump is trying to accomplish. The reason I think he's going to pull this off is because of the control that he's taking over the Federal Reserve. Right now, there's two people that have been dissenting votes. There's two Fed governors that continue to vote against the grain. They want to lower rates where everyone else wanted to keep it the same. And those two are Kevin Warsh and Christopher Waller. Right? These two Fed governors are both in the running to be the brand new Fed chair to replace Powell here in May 2026. So they're wanting Trump's favor so they can possibly be the next Fed chair, and they keep voting to lower rates because that's what Trump wants. He needs two more people. If he has four Fed governors in his pocket, so to speak, then he can make a lot of effective change. Four Fed governors can vote to change Fed chairmen and do a lot of other things. It's very complicated how the Fed votes on things, so I don't want to get into that in this video, but just trust me, after he has four Fed governors in his pocket, he can get quantitative easing started back up and mortgage-backed securities bought. Adriana Kugler resigned. I'm not sure why she resigned. She resigned early, and the person that was put in her place is Stephen Moran. Trump appointed Stephen Moran as a Fed governor. Stephen Moran happens to also be one of Trump's economic advisors, and he's the one that published the white paper, A User's Guide to Restructuring the Global Economy. He published that in January, about 9 months ago. And in that guide, it spelled out how the best way to restructure the world economy was to impose tariffs on a lot of other countries, specifically China, and try to bring the value of the dollar down. Also in that paper, he mentioned that it would be better if the president had the power to appoint Fed governors. Essentially, if the president could control the Federal Reserve. This was all outlined in a paper that Stephen Moran put out. And Stephen Moran is now a Fed governor. So take that for what it's worth. That's the third guy. The fourth person is in the middle of happening right now. And as of the time of this recording, precious metals are shooting up in anticipation of the Fed lowering rates, inflation rates rising while interest rates are lowered. The reason that precious metals are going up and there's so much concern about this possibly happening has to do with Lisa Cook, who's a Fed governor that Trump is trying to have removed. He's saying that because she committed mortgage fraud, or he alleges that she committed mortgage fraud by saying one of her vacation properties was a primary residence, which is pretty common. A lot of people will get a mortgage on a vacation property, say it's a primary residence, get a lower rate. It's not right. It is mortgage fraud. However, it's pretty common, and I don't know if that's just cause to remove a Fed governor. But in any case, Trump is doing that. She's disputing that. And here we're going to know on Thursday, September 4th, whether she's going to be removed or not. They're both fighting it in courts, and it's a thing. But if she's removed, then Trump can place someone that he chooses as a Fed governor. That gives him control of four different people in the Federal Reserve. And then likely what we're going to see is mortgage interest rates come down, housing values go up, and inflation start to probably also pick up. So that's why I think there's a lot to be hopeful for as a homeowner in the Denver area if you want your home values to go up. Now, if you're a buyer and you don't own yet, you probably don't want that to happen. And I'd be paying attention to what happens with Lisa Cook and if she's replaced or not. Because if she is, and you're a home buyer, it might be good to go ahead and buy now and front run this, because there might be a few weeks that take place between when she's replaced and when you start to see mortgage interest rates come down and home values come up. You'll have a window of time there to buy. Now, if you're a seller, you're also going to want to pay attention to this, because if Lisa Cook is not replaced, we're probably going to see more of the same, which probably means house prices continuing to slowly decline. If she is replaced, then it's probably good to hold tight, because within a month or two, we're probably going to see mortgage interest rates come down and home values start to rise again before the end of this year. If you're buying or selling a house, I would love to help you. I have my own crews. I can renovate your house before you sell it with my own money and my own crews so that you can get the most money. I'll fix and flip your house for you and let you keep the extra profits. If you're buying, I can help you get a great deal on a house that needs work, and then we can renovate it after you close on it, and we can get the costs of that renovation rolled into your mortgage. So it's a great way to get a great deal on a house and have it finished exactly the way you want. In either case, reach out to me. My personal cell phone number is 720-252-6888. That's 720-252-6888. Or you can check me out at my website, denverpropertyflip.com. Click on that testimonials tab and check out what past clients have to say about working with me.